Welcome or welcome back. I'm delighted that you're here. I'm Maggie Ostara, and I'm a sovereignty mentor and a human design expert. And I like to share the human design perspective on what's happening for us astrologically. And today I'm going to talk about really what's happening at the end of June. It's focus on the full moon in Capricorn that's happening on the 29th. But not only that, we also have Jupiter's going to be moving into Leo pretty much on the same day. Mercury is going retrograde. So there's a lot that's going on that we can look at from a human design point of view. So let's go ahead and dive in. And I really want to thank those of you who are subscribers. I really appreciate it. It's part of what makes it possible for me to be providing this information for you and these perspectives. And, it's a meaningful thing to be in community with you. I really love it when you leave comments. I read all of them. So please do leave comments because it also helps me know what's important to you and what lands for you, what's inspiring you, what challenges you're having, what questions you have. So please do feel free to comment and let me know when you have questions. I do try to answer them as quickly as I can. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we dive into the specifics, I want to let you know that I just did a masterclass called Your Intuition by Design. And it was really kind of a culmination of a lot of things that I have been integrating and putting together because I feel that intuition is really critical for us in this time. And actually, human design is largely an intuitive system. You can't really access the magic and the potency of human design unless your intuitive ability is open and you're listening to it instead of dismissing it. So if you are interested in that, I will put the link down below. And if you register for it, even though I did it today, I will send you the link because the replay will be going out very soon. Okay, so I encourage you to come check it out. You'll get to see some of the ways that I work with human design and also with neuroscience tools that I learned through neurosomatic intelligence, which is a body of work that I certified in last year because for me, it's really important for us to have a well-resourced nervous system in order to be able to access our intuition, and that helps us access our human design and also helps us navigate a complex and kind of confusing world a lot of the time. So do go ahead and get that if that's of interest to you. The full moon in Capricorn coming up on the 29th will be in the gate 58 along with the earth. So remember that the earth and the moon are always together at a full moon and they're opposite where the sun is. And the sun will be in the gate 52. So we'll talk about both of those gates and what they mean. The gate 58, it's a beautiful gate, really. It's on the root center. It's in the logic circuit or the pattern circuit, and it's known as joy or joy of mastery. The electromagnetic to the 58 is the gate 18. So what that means is if you look at the chart here, you'll see that the gate 58 is lit up down at the bottom of the chart, but its partner there, right? Its electromagnetic partner is not lit up. It's the gate 18. But nevertheless, the gate 18 is it's known as correction in traditional human design or realignment in quantum human design. And I like to think of it as the joy that comes when we really have things in alignment, right? It's when everything's working, the pattern is working, the system is working, right? And that is when we can experience joy. Like I have a good friend who has the gate 18 and she experiences so much joy when her budgets work. Like I don't personally feel that way about budgets. I don't have the 18, but for her, that's really a lot of joy. Now, I do have this, actually Saturn is lighting this up in my natal chart. And joy has really been kind of it's something for me to explore and to play with because I grew up in a very academic family and it wasn't that we were unhappy, but we were really kind of serious, kind of intellectual. We did love reading, read a lot of stuff, but there wasn't a lot of what I would call joy. genuine joy. And unfortunately, for a lot of adults, we don't experience joy all that much. Think of joy as something that children really experience, like, joy. So the question is how can we, with the moon lighting this up, right, and the earth, ground ourselves in this sense of joy, and how can we then really allow it to expand into our life, have a bigger space in our life? Because let's remember that joy is really kind of a soul quality, right? It's something that we experience when we're feeling expanded, we're feeling positive, we're feeling like things are working and they're flowing. And then that's when we can have joy, or when there's a beneficial surprise, something happens, or we accomplish something, or we finish something, or it could just be we're like playing around, right? We can have a lot of joy with that. I know I have a lot of joy when I dance, right? There's many different times we can have joy, but the question is how often do we create those situations where we're likely to experience it? So this full moon is really asking you, how can you step into more joy? Now, it's a little bit of a creative tension with Capricorn, right? Because Capricorn is, really kind of serious, right? Capricorn is the mountain goat. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is a great teacher, which is really focused on self-discipline, us learning how to do all the things we need to do in order to accomplish in our lives, because Capricorn likes to accomplish. It likes to get stuff done. It's really into getting stuff done. I have a Capricorn moon. I know how that is. So how do we bring some joy into this Capricorn moon? How do we bring some joy into Capricorn? Actually, the 58 is in Capricorn. So how do we experience that? Well, part of it can be the joy of accomplishment, right? Which would kind of make sense with Capricorn, right? The joy of accomplishment, but we don't have to stick to that. It doesn't have to only be that. I think in quantum human design, the 58 has been renamed the joy of mastery, because in that way it does kind of fit more with Capricorn, in the sense of, yes, Capricorn really likes to master things, because of course that's what Saturn is teaching us, is how do we master things, right? Through our own self-discipline, through incrementally working on something until we accomplish whatever that is. And there is a joy when we accomplish it. I mean, I remember the day that I turned my dissertation into the library at UCSD, where I got my PhD. I had so much joy. I couldn't even believe it, how much joy I had, that joy of mastery, because I had accomplished a big thing I'd been doing for 8 years, and I was done. Done. It was so much relief, but also joy. So take some time to be like, how can I find a way to feel more joyful? Because joy is also something, it's a real antidote to fear. It's a real antidote to anxiety or depression, or, feeling like the world is, crazy, or people in your life are crazy. It's like, how can we have some joy? Because we need to have that. It's very healing as well as pleasurable, but it is healing for us in a time where there's just really a lot going on that is not very pleasant, and we might not like it, and we might want it to change. But joy can help us be in the vibration where we actually can contribute to positive change. And then the sun is in the gate 52. So let's remember, right, at a full moon, what we see is we see the moon, and it's shining bright because the light of the sun is shining on it. So the light of the sun is going to be lensed through the gate 52, and then it's going to shine onto the moon. So the gate 52 is known as perspective. It's also on the root center, and it is this energy of being able to kind of see the big picture and then know exactly where to focus. So it's this kind of big and small, right? How do we see all of the different things, and then how do we focus where we need to focus? So it calls us to be able to be flexible, right? Because to be able to move from the big perspective into focus, or from focus into the big perspective, we have to be flexible. We have to be able to shift from one way of seeing to another way of seeing. The 52 is also part of the logic circuit, or the pattern circuit. And if you think about it in terms of being able able to, for example, realign patterns, like we were just talking about the gate 18, right? To be able to realign patterns, we want to be able to like kind of take a look at the big pattern, right? Look at the big picture and then go, oh, right there is where the pattern is off. Right? We want to kind of bring that more into alignment. So you can think about it that way, but you can also think about it as you're kind of moving through your life and you're deciding, well, what is it that is going to be next for me? And if you're too myopic, right? Too just focused, kind of, got the blinders on, right? It's hard sometimes to know because you can't see the big picture. You can't see the implications of the choices that you make. So the sun is really asking you, when you ground yourself into that grade of joy, you can see the big perspective, and then you'll be able to know, oh, that's where I'm going to go, right? So that's what you want to be looking for. Also on the 29th, Mercury is going to go retrograde. And what's interesting about this is that Mercury will be in the gate 62 for almost a month. Usually Mercury is in a gate for 5 to 6 days, pretty short, but it's going to be there for a long time between the forward motion, right, and the slowing down that happens, and then the turning around and coming back and going retrograde, and then it slows down at the end there, turns around and goes direct again, right? So there's 3 passes there, and they're all in that gate 62. Mercury is going to move out of the gate 62 on July 12th, but it is going to have been there for a whole month. So let's talk about this gate 62 because there's been a lot of activity there. We had a Jupiter-Venus conjunct for a few days before they moved into the gate 56 together earlier this month. So there's been a lot of energy there. And then the sun will be moving into the gate 62 a little later in July. So the 62 is on the throat center, and it's also in the logic circuit or the pattern circuit, and it's known as details in traditional human design or preparation in quantum human design. So I think this is actually really important and helpful for us because we're going to have Mercury. When Mercury goes retrograde, right, we want to go back over the things that we've just been with, right? What is it that we're going back over? So Mercury is saying, let's go back over the details. Let's go back over our preparation. Let's make sure that we didn't forget anything in terms of what we need to prepare. What are the details we need to prepare? And so you can be looking at what are you preparing in your own life, right? If you're planning to make a change, you have a desire to make a change, you're preparing for something new, you're preparing for something to shift or for something to leave. There's all different kinds of things you could be preparing for. But we, I think collectively, are also preparing because we're preparing for us moving into this new earth energy, preparing us to be leaving behind the old order, right? That is falling apart and it's kicking and screaming as it's going. But how are we preparing ourselves as we're moving into this organic timeline of the new earth? What do we need to do to prepare? And I can ask myself, what do I need to prepare for that? What are the details that are connected to that? And so that's one thing you can look at for yourself as well. So it could be really kind of focused on your own life and specific things that you're doing, but you could also zoom out with that energy of the 52, right? You can zoom out to the bigger picture and say, okay, when I'm looking at the bigger picture, what do I need to prepare? What are the details that are important for me as I'm tapping into this collective movement towards the new earth? And then you can also zoom back into your own life. And since Mercury is the god of communication, right? We want to think about what is it that you want to give voice to or you want to express. So it doesn't literally have to be the talking, even though it is the throat center. It could also be writing. It could also be art. There's many different ways to express. So you can look at what is it that you want to get, like really kind of give voice to or express that has to do with the preparation that needs to happen. Then towards the end of Mercury's retrograde motion is going to move into the gate 53, which is the gate of starting things. So the gate of starting things, right? What are we bringing out? You gardeners are going to love this because you're still going to be bringing in new plants for the summer, right? Because we're moving into high summer now here in the Northern Hemisphere. But what else is it that we want to begin? Now that we have looked at the details and now that we've prepared, what do we want to start? So you could even look at what do you want to start that will happen in July, right? And then take the time between now and then to be looking at what is it that you still need to prepare in order to start that new thing in the middle of July. I also want to note that the new moon in Cancer that is going to happen on July 14th, Bastille Day, is also going to be in the gate 62. So we've got a lot of energy moving through that gate. Like I said, we had Jupiter and Venus earlier in June. Now we're going to have Mercury there for a whole month. We're going to have a new moon in the middle of next month. So this is a really important thing to be considering when we have all of those different activations happening in the same gate. Another big shift is happening with Jupiter moving into Leo on the 30th. So just like the next day, it's all happening here at the end of June. So Jupiter stays in a sign for about a year and has been in Cancer. And of course, Cancer is caring, Cancer is family, Cancer is taking care of each other. It's intuitive, it's watery, it's emotional, right? So this is what Jupiter has been. And Jupiter is actually exalted in Cancer, is now going to move into Leo, which is a huge shift in energy, right? One is really just kind of sweet and tender and loving and caring. And then we have Leo. So we're going to move from that kind of caring into self-expression. I am here, right? My dad was a Leo, right? It's like that energy of like, I am here. I am the king of the forest because, Leo is a lion. And sometimes it goes into bravado, right? And Jupiter does expand things. So Jupiter could expand your bravado if you tend to go that way. But Leo is also with leadership, creativity. We have the Lion's Gate during the season of Leo. So there's a lot of really beautiful qualities. So even though Jupiter is changing signs, Jupiter is not going to change gates until the 10th of July. So in the human design system, sometimes the human design system and the astrological system are a bit like this, right? And so there are gates that span two different astrological signs, and the gate 56 is one of them. So Jupiter is still in the gate 56, the divine storyteller. I talked about this in my last transit report. I was talking about the Jupiter-Venus conjunct in the gate 56. I'll put the link for that down below so you can go and watch that. It's a beautiful storytelling energy that really helps us to elevate our sense of who we are as a collective, because it's in the sensing circuit, so it's collective energy. Really helps us elevate our sense of who we are and what's possible for us, really bringing in that kind of divine guidance through storytelling. So that's where Jupiter is. It's been there for a while. It's going to move in the middle of, like I said, the 10th of July into the gate 31, which is sometimes known as the democratic leader. I like to call it the new earth leader because I really think that's the highest expression that we can have right now. It is the expression of the logic circuit or the pattern circuit. We've got a lot of those energies that are starting to be here in this, towards the end of June. And so then Jupiter will be moving there in the middle of July. And of course, Leo is the leader, right? King of the forest or queen of the forest. And so the question for us when we get to that time is, what kind of leadership do we want Jupiter to expand? What kind of leadership do you want Jupiter to expand in your own self, in your own life? And I like to think of new earth leadership starting with you taking more and more and more responsibility in a good way, like for your own life, for your own experience, for what's happening for you, right? And this is where the intuition by design comes in, because when we tap into our intuition, this is when we are receiving guidance from our higher self, from our soul self. And that enables us to really take more and more responsibility in a positive way for our lives, because we get to go, this is my life. I get to create my life. I am the leader of my life. So I like to think of it starting there, but it also, Jupiter is going to expand it into what are the forms of new world leadership that are possible. It's an exciting thing to think about. So you can be kind of leaning into that and thinking about, well, if you're not so happy with a lot of the leadership that you see going on around on the world stage these days, or in the political sphere, or in the, the private sector, however you want to think about it, right? What would positive new earth leadership look like? Right? That's a good thing for us to be putting some energy into, particularly as Jupiter moves into that gate in the middle of July. But Jupiter stays in a sign for a whole year. So Jupiter is going to be in Leo, and is going to be kind of, really expanding this kind of fiery, self-expressive, I'm here, I'm sovereign, the world is my oyster energy that Leo has. So it'll be fun to kind of track what happens for us individually and collectively while Jupiter is expanding those Leo energies. Then the last layer I want to share with you today is that we have Uranus and Mars are going to be conjunct in the gate 20. Just for about 6-7 days. Of course, Uranus has been in the gate 20 and is going to continue in the gate 20 for some time, because Uranus stays in a gate for a long time. But Mars tends to move relatively quickly and is only going to be there for, I think it's like 8 days. So I want to show you this picture because it's fun to see how, like, if you're standing on a certain part of the earth, you can see, right? If you were where the gate 20 was, right? You can look out and you can see there's Mars and then there's Uranus. And the gate 20 it's really great to actually have Uranus in there, because it calms Uranus down a little bit in terms of, it's the gate of patience. And it's also really good for Mars, because in the I Ching, the hexagram is about a general standing on a hill with his armies behind him, having a piece of grass and letting it go into the wind to see, is it the right time for him to move forward, right? Because you don't want to move at the wrong time. For example, you want the wind to be in your face, not at your back if you are an attacking army, right? Because you don't want the animals and the people to smell you, know that you're coming. So this is a matter of patience, of waiting for the right time. When is it going to be the right time to move forward? And it's kind of good because it slows down Uranus a little bit, because Uranus is like and fast, and especially being in Gemini, it's really like. So it's interesting that we have the gate 20 is in Gemini, but it's helpful to kind of balance out some of that really kind of fast mercurial energy, and remind us, while we have that really fast mercurial energy, to slow down and wait until the time is right to do whatever it is, the thing that we are wanting to do. And I think it's particularly apt because Mars, as we know, in his lower expression, or I like to call shadow expression, is the god of war, right? And so, and here we have in the gate of the general waiting until the right time. So if we think about Mars as the spiritual warrior, which is more awakened and empowered expression in the human design system, then he's waiting for the right time as well. When is the right time to step forward with that kind of spiritual energy to try to make a shift? So you can be thinking about that for yourself. It's like, when is the right time for you potentially to move forward into a new spiritual endeavor that you might be in, that you want to participate in, or a new way of transforming yourself, or a new kind of practice that you might be working with, so that you can have Mars for you really being in that spiritual warrior archetype rather than as the god of war. as you can see, another really complex full moon here in Capricorn, and there's just so much energy happening at the end of June. You can see there's so many different things that are aligning and conjuncting and opposing, and of course, the astrologers have even more than this that they're talking about because they're looking at things a little bit differently. They're looking even more at the sacred geometry of what's going on. So I do highly encourage you to find your favorite astrologer and follow them. You know, some of mine are Pam Gregory and Heather Unsworth, a couple of my favorites that I follow on a regular basis. So, but find the ones that work for you because there is such a rich time. And I think human design does bring a new perspective, which is beneficial for us. And I hope you astrologers who are watching my reports are getting to have a different kind of flavor and layering that in with what you're interested in astrology. So my friends, take really good care. It's a volatile time. It's a exciting time. It's a joyous time. It's a time of so many things that are happening. And so take good care of yourself. Take good care of each other. We are still in Cancer season. So even though Jupiter is moving, the sun is still in Cancer. And so we do want to take really good care of ourselves and each other. And if you do want to get the replay for the Your Intuition by Design masterclass that I just did, I will put the link for that down below. Just go ahead and register, and I'll send you out the replay when it's available. All right. Many, many blessings. Much love.